Steph gets moving at 5. Dort a great defender at 3. Curry sidestep, Curry drive, Curry flip, Curry good!
To review, the basket interference call on the court has been overturned to successful basket.
Successful. Steph Curry with 2:10 left, and the game is not over.
Man, what a game. The Warriors kicked off the first ever in-season tournament with a classic, a 141-139 shootout versus a young, hungry OKC team that was playing without their best player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But regardless of SGA not playing, this was an impressive win versus a talented up-and-coming team in a hostile road environment. The Thunder are going to be a problem at some point in the near future. But not today. Not while Wardell, Stephen Curry is still at the top of his game. Man, this game winner was dirty. 35-year-old Steph Curry went right at OKC's best defender Lu Dort one-on-one with no screen. Hit him with a left-to-right crossover, got Dort shifting, and blew right by him for a scoop layup high off the glass to avoid 7-1 Chet Holmgren's outstretched go-go gadget arm for a ridiculous finish. The amount of touch to get it this high off the glass, taken off from that far back, is insane. People gotta start recognizing Steph's not just the greatest shooter ever, but one of the best guard finishers ever. Ironically enough, his game winner left .02 on the game clock, same as Klay's game winner against the Kings just 2 days earlier. Now, as for my honest opinions on the in-season tournament, first of all, the court's trash, bruh. Let's start there. I'm not a fan of the court. It's a lot going on. It kinda threw me off at first. I don't know, bruh. I guess I kinda gotta get used to it. But other than that, in terms of the tournament itself, I was skeptical at first when it was first announced. It sounded a little too gimmicky, so I took on a wait-and-see approach. But after seeing what it's about, honestly, I think it's dope. I like the level of intensity for a game in November. It's something different, and it's something else to look forward to at a time of the year basketball fans aren't really used to. As long as it's something that equates to more competitive hoop, I'm all for it. And this was definitely a competitive game that had a playoff type vibe. But anyways, getting back to the actual game, the shot making in this game was insane. OKC went 15 for 29 from 3, while the Warriors went 18 for 40. There wasn't a single quarter from both teams that was under 30 points scored. The Warriors shot 53% from the field and 45% from 3. While OKC shot 60% from the field and 52% from 3. Man, that's wild. If my team shot 60% from the field and 52% from 3 for the game and still lost, I'd be hot, bruh. How do you not walk out of that game with a win shooting like that? This was the definition of a shootout. While there was some undisciplined defense being played for sure, dude straight up just wasn't missing, bruh. Speaking of dudes who couldn't miss, this dude Lu Dort had one of the fakest shooting nights I've ever seen, bruh. I couldn't believe the shots he was making. Every time he threw the next one up, I was like, hell no! I couldn't believe it. Peep this, for his career he shoots 39% from the field and 34% from 3. But of course against the Warriors, dude turns into flu game Michael Jordan. It's crazy, bruh. He started the game a perfect 7 for 7. I was like,
bro, what you on?
Like, come on, bruh, there's no way. Dude was hitting sidestep threes, pump fake reload threes, fadeaway middies with a hand in his face. It was quite literally the fakest shit I've ever seen. Last season it seemed like every other night some bum on the other team had a career night against us, and it usually resulted in an L. But this year's Warriors team has the composure, poise, and execution to survive those games. Alright, let's talk about Kuminga. JK had some rough moments defensively this game, mainly in the first half, but his offense in the second half was vital. He basically carried us in the third quarter. He had 19 points in 22 minutes, and the Warriors needed every point to keep up with his high-scoring OKC team. Let's take a look at some of his clips. Kuminga drives and gets to his pull-up midi. This is Kuminga keeping it simple. He doesn't have the driving lane, so he decides to get to his sweet spot and rise up for what's starting to look like a great look for him. I trust Kuminga's shot in the mid-range, as long as he gets a clean look up. Again, JK's keeping it simple. He gets into a pick and roll with CP, who finds him rolling to the rim. Second-year player Jalen Williams was a help defender, and he has zero chance dealing with Kuminga getting downhill. I wish Kuminga finished this with his left hand instead of bringing it back to his right hand on the left side of the basket, but that's just me nitpicking. Kuminga's actually a really good finisher with his left hand. That's why I was surprised he brought it back to his right. But anyways, next clip. Kuminga hard drive into a right to left crossover. The defender Isaiah Joe gets his ankle snatched and falls to the ground while Kuminga takes it to the rim. Kuminga's so fast getting to the basket that the closest help defender can't react in time to impede his drive. Easy bucket. Alright, next clip. Kuminga sprints the floor after a made OKC basket, forcing a cross match where he ends up with a smaller defender on him. CP3 immediately recognizes the mismatch down court and delivers a perfectly placed ball where only JK can get it. If you allow JK to get this deep into the paint on a catch, it's either a bucket or a foul every time. He's too big and too strong for a smaller defender to do anything with him that deep into the basket. Now, I know Kuminga has to be selective when he leaks out because the majority of the time he's going to be asked to stay back and help secure the rebound. But in lineups where he's at the 3, he can get a few easy buckets a game, running the floor and burying a smaller defender under the rim. One of the many benefits of having a floor general in the second unit like Chris Paul is that he's not shot hungry. He's not out there just trying to get his like Poole. Kuminga's a legit weapon for us, and having him paired with CP, who's more than willing to forego looking for his own shot to get his teammates going, is exactly what he needed. Looney had a rough game. He just seemed out of place on the court. This wasn't a good matchup for him. The Thunder spread you out with Chet as a stretch 5 that's also athletic and mobile. Looney's lost a noticeable amount of mobility these last few years. It makes matching up against teams like OKC that spread you out difficult for him to stay on the court. He had 4 fouls in 11 minutes. It's hard for him to keep up in that pace and space environment. Chet's an athletic 7'1" mobile center with length that's also a stretch 5 with ball skills. It's no shame admitting that's a bad matchup for Looney. Overall, Looney's still great defensively. It just means in some matchups he's more limited than he used to be. And in those specific matchups, it's probably best to tone back his minutes accordingly. Besides Draymond at center, Trayce Jackson-Davis should thrive in those matchups as well. But unfortunately, TJD wasn't available this game because the Warriors assigned him and fellow rookie Brandon Podziemski to Santa Cruz before the game. They could have really used TJD as a mobile option when Looney was struggling and in foul trouble. So far, we've seen TJD match up with Sabonis, Jonas Valanciunas, and Zion Williamson, and he more than held his own. I don't see why he can't buy you a few minutes on Chet, who he theoretically should be able to match up well against mobility-wise. Dario Saric had blood in his eyes playing against his old team. It's always that extra motivation playing against a former team that didn't want you. Saric had 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists on 6 of 9 shooting from the field and 4 of 7 from 3 in 20 minutes off the bench. All 4 of his threes in the first half. After a slow shooting start to the season, he's now up to 42% on threes on 4.3 attempts per game. As expected, Saric was a huge pickup for the Warriors. If they didn't land him and didn't have his front court spacing to connect lineups, it would be difficult making a lot of these lineup combinations playable. CP3 had an interesting stat line. He only scored 1 point, but had 13 assists and no turnovers, and was a +6. He now has 54 assists to 6 turnovers on the season. That's a 9-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Now he did go 0 for 6 from the field, and at some point he needs to start knocking down his shots, but he contributes positively to winning in so many other areas, it hasn't hurt them yet. But against the top tier contending teams that deploy better defense, especially in the playoffs, he's gonna have to knock his shots down, because teams will most definitely dare him to shoot. If he's not proving he can knock down shots consistently, the Warriors could be in trouble, because at some point they're gonna need at least 12 to 14 points from Chris Paul. Here's what CP3 had to say about the shot not falling post game.
Shit ain't going in, you know what I mean? But good thing about it is I know that that's not the normal, you know what I mean? But it's crazy to think about, you know, I could score 1 point or 2 points and we still win the game. So it's a nice luxury to have.
Chris Paul is 1 of 21 from 3, and Wiggins is 2 for 13. That's a combined 8.8%, and the Warriors are still 5-1. History tells us those guys are good 3-point shooters. So once those averages start to normalize, this team is going to be that much more unstoppable. Alright, let's talk about the minute totals. The Warriors have 5 guys off the bench that played 18 or more minutes. Saric played 20 minutes, he was a +3. CP3 played 28 minutes, +6. Kuminga had 22 minutes, +3. GP2 played 22 minutes, +9. Moses Moody had 18 minutes, +4. Even with CP only scoring 1 point, the bench combined for 57 points and was a cumulative +25. No starter played over 33 minutes, and the Warriors were able to keep Steph down to 31 minutes in a competitive game. Steve Kerr gotta be juiced that his team is capable of holding leads and even extending them when Steph is on the bench. To steal a few more minutes of rest for him while still coming out with a win. If this is a common occurrence this season, and I have a feeling it will be, then the vets are gonna be fresh throughout the season. Don't be surprised when a well-rested Warrior squad is smacking teams in the mouth come playoff time. Anyways, that's all I got for y'all. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's much appreciated on this road to 1,000 subs. I'll holla at you on the next one. Peace.